Hey, my girls. So I know it has not been a while because I have been engaging with y'all and interacting with you all every single day. And I've really made it a point to be intentional about the things that I'm sharing and making sure that what I'm sharing is raw experience because what we all need is raw experience. Ironically, I was just talking to Dre about that, who is my videographer, and people value that. And in this episode, we are going to be piggybacking off of our recent viral video, which actually is Kingdom Girlie's first viral video. And I'm excited about it because I did not expect to do this. So, the way I wanted to do this, y'all, for this particular episode, I was like, my next 5 to 6 episodes, I wanted to have guests. I wanted to have people on to talk about their experiences, to share their experiences, to talk about what our ministry and this podcast portion is built on, which of course is faith, transformation, transparency, relationships and forgiveness. Like, I wanted to bring people because we can literally expound on those topics so much. But the thing is that God has been showing me that most of this podcast I have to do solo. And there will be some guests, but those guests will definitely be people that God has instructed to be on. And that's my challenge, right? Because I wanted to be how I wanted to be. And the reality is that that's just not what God wants. And so I have to be obedient to that. So I'm glad that I'm actually partnered and that my team, down to like my hairstylist, videographer, stylist for clothing, all of those people, I'm glad that they always remind me to keep being my authentic self and don't sleep on doing stuff by myself. Because sometimes we just want people to help us and we don't necessarily need that. Or you have to be okay with almost like staying in the Abrahamic season. And I know that's not a season that we all like to be in, but honestly, when it comes to this and building this, that's really the space that I'm in. And so I have to stay into that. So with that viral reel that I created, it was me in my pajamas in my bed. I even started crying in the reel, not because I wanted to be crying in front of y'all, but because that's just what happened. And I was talking about closing the door and how if you do not close the door, you're going to lose out on so many things. And I expressed like, I could not get to the space that I am in my business if I didn't close the door. I couldn't get to the space in my faith walk if I didn't close the door. I could not get to be the mom that I am if I didn't close the door, the friend that I am if I didn't close the door. Just me, because we be sleeping on relationships with ourselves, but the relationship that I have with myself, the value, the love, the intimacy that I have for myself, I could not get to this space if I didn't close the door. And I just want to be clear on what we're talking about when I say close the door. I'm talking about on relationships, particularly relationship with a man. Okay. You cannot get to the space that you want to be until you close the door on that toxic relationship. A lot of y'all sent me DMs, messages, y'all had questions on how to close the door. I even gave y'all like a release prayer, and all of y'all could relate because a lot of the comments were literally like saying like, this is me right now. Y'all are saying that it hurts to close the door. Y'all are saying that like, one that really hit me, I'm not going to say your name on here, but she was like, why did he get a chance to close the door before me? And I feel that because I have always been the type of person that I would rather end it to let them basically hurt them before they hurt me. And that don't work that way when God wants something closed, especially when he has given us so much opportunity to shut something down and we refuse to shut it down. And when when you don't close the door, like that is literally in Isaiah, like whatever door God's closed, no man can reopen, and whatever doors God open, no man can shut. And I think that we just like, we don't understand that like you don't get a chance to decipher when something is ending and you will continue to be in turmoil. Like I told y'all in one of the episodes that when you are disobedient, it is literally bringing disorder into your life, and not closing the door is what has you depressed. It's what has you filled with anxiety. It's what has you drinking a lot. It's what have you always smoking. It's what has you, going out and wearing specific type of clothes for attention. And not closing the door is making you become a narcissistic woman. I know y'all probably like, what? You supposed to be making us feel better. But I'm telling you all of the downsides that come with that, because when you don't close the door and you leave it lingering, what ends up happening is you bring all of those behaviors into every other area of your life, from friendships to romantic relationships to just everything. And so you have to close the door. So today's episode is going to look different. Before I start off, I want to answer y'all's questions. There are so many questions that y'all asked me in my DMs, and y'all, I am doing my best to answer every person. There's so many comments that I want to respond to. So I'm going through, because I do love the personability. Some of y'all have already gotten responses. Y'all didn't expect a response from me. But I wanted to make sure that I am diligent in ministering to you properly to help you get to your kingdom self. And so I want to make sure that I take today to really respond to the questions that you all have. But before we do that, I want you to take the scripture that I'm about to give you, and this is your first piece of framework. Every single time you think about opening a door, or the enemy tries to trick you or convince you to open that door back up, I want you to say Ephesians 6:10. And it literally says to be strong in the Lord, wear the full armor of God so you can fight against the devil's clear tricks. Every time you think about, and I don't know what TikTok filters out, what YouTube filters out, but I need to say all of this in the rawest way so y'all can really understand me, okay? So please don't get under here acting crazy like you ain't never heard some of these words. But I have to talk to y'all plainly so that you can, like, we got to get into it, okay? Every time the enemy tricks you with all of the good history, right? So like the good times y'all had, the good sex that y'all had, the good times that y'all went out, the good times that y'all turned up, the gifts that he bought you, those are literally tricks from the enemy. First of all, you have no business fornicating with a man that's not your husband, okay? So if you thinking about that, that's a clear trick from the enemy, okay? And we all get tricked. I understand it's something that we can fall victim to. But when the right man comes, it's not going to happen that way, okay? You should not be committing some of the acts that you're committing with some of these people. And some of these situations, and I understand the capacity of some of y'all relationships and the way they were built, the reason why it didn't work is because God was never in the center of it. So when it's time to close the door, the enemy doesn't want to stop that confusing space, because now you have the opportunity for God to use you. Now you have the opportunity for God to do something with you. And the enemy is not pleased with that. He's not happy with that. So he constantly wants to throw in a trick. But the thing is that there is no new tricks, because every time you think about going back, you only think about the good times. You don't think about the time when that man went upside your head. You're not thinking about the time when he was calling you all out your name. You don't think about the time when he made your self-esteem low. You don't think about all the times when you didn't caught women in his phone or him cheating or things like that. You don't think about none of that stuff when you think about keeping that door open. You only think about the good things. But when you get back in a situation, you're back in that same sad feeling, wondering why you're in it. And you're putting yourself through that same cycle. So you know how sometimes we'll see like these posts on social media, or sometimes you'll hear men say, oh, well, you chose that type of guy. And in some of those situations, I know it's harsh, but it kind of is true, because when God is giving you the opportunity to close the door and you choose to continue to stay in that, it is a choice. So if you had a child with someone after they were already treating you that way, of course, that's a choice. If you got married to someone after they were already treating you, thinking that, oh, we going to church now, we got married, it's going to make it better. It's not. Yes, God can come in and redeem things, but every person is not made to stay with someone through the grid. Like, you have to be built for that. And a lot of women don't realize that, which is why I always say therapy is prominent. When I first started going to therapy, I initially started going to therapy because of my old relationship. And one of the things that my therapist told me was that everybody is not made to go through trials and tribulations with a person. So everybody's not made to build up a person. So like you may not be built for that, and you'll know that you're not built for that based on the grace and the almost like the wisdom that God puts over you. So like if you're a person right now that fights with scripture, like literally you're not cussing nobody out, but you're literally fighting with scripture, you're going through prayer, you might be built for something like that. But if you're a person that instantly goes to like toxic behavior, fighting, shouting, yelling, acting like a mad woman, you're not built for that. God didn't design you for that, which means that you should not be staying with someone through the hustle, the trials and tribulations. I know they have a lot of different, I've seen a podcast before, and they had this lady that said, I'm definitely never gonna be called to what she was called to. That woman said she irons her husband's clothes. She used to iron her husband's clothes so he could go get ready to be with his side chick. May God never call me to that type of stupidity. But y'all, she literally said she irons her husband's clothes while he go get ready for his side chick. And she was like, during that season, she knew he was cheating on her. She knew all of the stuff she was doing, and she would help him get ready. But she would say to him, but God is going to deliver you from this, and he's going to redeem you from that. God didn't call me to that ministry, sis, because sir, you got to get on, okay? We not dealing with that. Now, some of y'all may say, I'm called to that. As for Shy, she is not. But you may be. But you would know if that sends you an outrage just thinking about it, then that means that grace to stay with someone through trials and tribulations is not put on you. So close the door. Close the door. Like, literally close the door. Like Marvin said. Close the door. It's like y'all have to stop. You just got to let it go. And most of y'all's questions when I said to close the door or to stop was, how do I close the door? How do I get out of this? Which is going to bring me into this part of this episode where I just want to I want to answer y'all's questions so y'all can know. So we're going to read some DMs. I'm not going to say your name. If there are names put in here, I'm not going to put that out. But I want y'all to know that most of the time, what y'all are dealing with, somebody else is dealing with. So I'm going to open these DMs up and I'm going to read some of them and respond to them. So this one says, I've been battling with holding on to this relationship. My thoughts, just everything, and came across your page. I thank you because I needed that. I've been feeling like giving up. It's like he's mentally, physically, and emotionally drained me, but somehow still blames me. I know this is random. I'm sorry. I have an inspirational organization myself, but sometimes I need a shoulder to cry on, always being the strong one. Man. Okay, so first let's start with the portion of mentally, physically, and emotionally draining you. Y'all, that relationship is not ordained by God. Okay, if something is mentally, you taking three things from you: mentally, physically, and emotionally draining you, and you're always a strong person for someone. So when you're always a strong person for someone, the only strength you can depend on is God's strength. The only person you can depend on is God, because you're always a strong one for everybody else. So who can be strong for you? Only God. Like, only his strength can be strong for you. And you have to understand that in that situation, it's time to walk away. The thing, I guess, that comes to me for this when I read this is leaning not to your own understanding. You're not understanding why this stuff is happening and why this person is still blaming you. So he's still blaming you. I'm going to tell you exactly why. If this is your message, this is why he's blaming you. He's still blaming you because it is good to keep you. Like, he sees that it's good to keep you around. But also, you're taking accountability for his actions instead of your own. What the part that you need to take accountability for is that your emotions are drained. You're physically drained. You're mentally drained. You're spiritually drained. You're not able to focus. And that means that you need to take accountability for your emotional well-being. Okay, pull your emotions together, get yourself back intact, and get you together. And once you get you together, then you can be a good partner for someone. Because guess what? If this person has taken all of these things from you, and I mean 3 big things, what if the right man comes along? He leaving in a month. I can tell you that now, because who you are is truly going to show up, because your emotions, you're not emotionally balanced. Your responses are not going to be right. Everything he does is going to trigger you, and you're going to be telling this new person, it's triggering me. It's triggering me. And like, nobody wants to hear, like, would you want to hear that something is triggered? Every time somebody do something, I'm triggered. Like, okay, Janae Aiko, like, you triggered. But You can't keep pulling that into the relationship because it's not going to work. So you wouldn't even be able to do that. And honestly, it wouldn't even work in friendships because a lot of times y'all don't realize that when you are physically, spiritually, emotionally drained and your well-being has been taken, you're looking for something to latch onto. And so what's going to happen is in your friendships, when those people neglect you, when those people let you down, when they say, hey girl, I can't go to brunch today, or hey, we can't do this, or hey, we can't do that, it's going to bother you. The whole situation is going to bother you. So you have to understand, like, you got to let go. So how you can step forward and what you can do. The first thing I want you to do is go to my page on TikTok and I want you to say that release prayer. But the second thing that I want you to do is remember Ephesians 6:10. And the third thing I want you to do is this. So whenever we are physically, mentally, and emotionally drained, what happens is our brains, like, and this is I'm putting my degree to use. Okay. So our brains cannot truly like withhold everything. And if in your career, in your job, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're not going to be able to be productive and move forward, your creativity, you're going to start having blockages. And so what you need to do is what you call a brain fast. And what a brain fast is something that I already do. It allows you to start your day and end your day with optimism. And so just 15 minutes of optimism in the morning and 15 minutes of optimism in the evening. So optimism can look like a podcast that's optimistic. You can go to like Apple Podcasts or just whatever phone you have for podcasts, and you can look up optimistic podcasts, and you just need to listen to 15 minutes and then the same thing before you go to bed. Also, soft sounds. This is going to start to clear your brain of all of that trauma that's kind of like backed up and built up in there, and it's going to allow you to be able to think clearly. So I want you to do that. I'm sure if you see this and you know this is your DM, I want you to tell me how it is, but I'm also going to send this to you, okay? That was also for everybody, just so y'all know. All y'all need to do that. The second person that whose message I'm gonna read is, hi, thanks for that message on closing the door. Please pray for me. I'm having the hardest time. I wasted so much time, never gave me a title. Ooh. And still dealt with his ex. I'm just hurt. I gave him so much of me. In return, a broken heart. I blocked him tonight and I'm feeling so hurt because I know I have to really let go. He is going to call me blocked as always when I blocked him, and I need strength not to answer. This is hard, but I needed your message. This message right here, I couldn't wait to read this deal. That one, I gotta put the phone down. That one was me. Oh my goodness. I was so hard. I would block my ex and then he would call me private. And like after so many private calls, I would answer. I would hear stuff like on social sites or things that show me like, this is not for you. This is not what you should be in. But I still would be looking for that more in-depth sign. I'm going to tell you something to you. Did not giving you a title. So I was his girlfriend for 8 years, y'all. Do I quite literally look I need to be somebody's girlfriend for 8 years? But I was this man's girlfriend for 8 years. Now, the ex thing and him not leaving alone, no, he was messing with his ex, but there were other people in the process, and it was always like me comparing myself to other people. So I really, really, really could not wait to respond to this one. For you, with having the hardest time, I would like to lie to you and tell you it's not going to get hard. Be hard, but it is. It's going to stay hard because you keep answering the phone. So as long as you answer those blocked calls, you are going to answer. You might have to do what I did. So I had to literally change my number. And me changing my number was like, okay, he doesn't have this number. So now the ball is in my court. I can't complain if he called me because I've given him a number. So you're going to have to do that. But another thing that I had to do was every day I had to say, I release, and I say his name. Me saying that I released him, eventually, like, he was released. And then I used to always make a list. Every time I thought about answering, every time I thought about going back to the situation, I would make a list of all of the things that I've gone through with him, all of the things that I've experienced, and how it actually made me feel. And when I made that list of those things that I went through, how I felt, I would ponder on that. So whenever it would be like, okay, I'm thinking about calling him, I'm thinking about doing something, I just go back to the list and be like, well, what am I calling for? Well, what am I picking the phone back up for? Well, what am I, sending a message for? What is going to be different this time? If God intended for it to be something, you would have never just stayed as a no title person. And y'all, I really hope I'm not offending when I say this stuff, because I have to say it straightforward to y'all, because sometimes we don't always get the information straightforward. But if it was intended, you would have never stayed just a title. I have a lot of male friends that are truly just platonic relationships, from the personal to the business world. And in those friendships, a lot of the times what they tell me is that it does not take a man a long time to know if he want to marry a woman. Like, men love stability. Okay, I need y'all to understand. Men love stability, and they also love consistency. And so if this person truly, truly, truly wanted to be with you or seen you as a potential wife, I can promise you, whether he got the money for a ring or not, they make tattoos, they sell rings at Walmart. A lot of people can get married without a ring. You can go to the Justice of Peace. It's $75 to get married. Literally, if he wanted to, he would, okay? So he's not going to give you that. But the part of accountability, because I always try to make y'all take accountability that you have to see, is that you continue to give him space. So the reason why he's never going to give you a title is because you never enforced that. The reason why he's not going to properly date you is because you never enforced that. Like, when you enforce that, and when you enforce that from the very beginning, and you not just be like, oh, he just my friend. Like, it's like the tone you set from the very beginning. So you built a relationship, and it was like building a skyscraper on sand. And what that means is that it's not going to hold up balance because you never laid out the proper foundation. You never told him what to do from the beginning, or and even if he didn't want to do that in the beginning, if you never set the boundary from the very beginning, he has no need to even do it now. Like, what's the point? If you doing all of this other stuff for me, if y'all, I don't know if y'all are sleeping together, if you cooking, if you cleaning, if you buying him stuff, if y'all going on dates, why would he give you a title? You know, like, he doesn't have a reason to. It's the same as if you went to a job and they was giving you money to just sit down all day, then they want you to do all this work. Well, why you want me to do work now? I've been sitting on the clock for free. Would you stay at that job, or would you go on about your business? So, you know, you or me, and I'm telling you that I had to be strong. Now, the title part, I did not have that, but I always have wanted to be a wife. Like, that is a true desire that I've had, but I did not push that out. And I mean, even when I would complain about it, I still stayed. So what would be the reason for him to change anything? Because I was still there. So that's for you. And I just want you to think about that. Yours is really like a lot of accountability. Let's see. Okay. This one is for the women who have kids with the person. And I'm going to read this as best as I can. Good morning. Hope all is well. Not sure I'll get a response, but it's worth a try. I saw your video on closing the door. It's been 3 years and I'm ready now. My child's father, since I've been pregnant, keeps going back to the ex before me each and every time, and I always fall for it. I've gotten postpartum stress. Police has been involved mentally and emotionally. All has played a part, and I just want better for me and my children. It's been 5 days, longest we've gone without talking, but I also don't want to keep his daughter away. But I told him I don't want that girl near our child. What do I do? He's threatening court, but I never even thought to put him on child support out of courts. Okay. So when you have children with somebody, I have 2 kids, okay? I'm a single mother, and I understand the whole dynamic when you have kids with someone and stepping away and all of that stuff. The first thing y'all got to understand is the kids are going to grow up to love their parents' dirty draws. When I tell you this, kids are going to love both of their parents, mom and dad. But in order to set a boundary for you on closing the door for you with the kid, you're going to have to get a solid routine when it comes to that child. You cannot be the mediator in pickups, drop-offs here and there. If your child is in daycare or in school, I'm going to tell y'all the easiest way to fix this so y'all can stop having these issues. This is the easiest way. You drop your child off at daycare, he pick him up and he drop him back off when he go. You don't need to see him. You don't have to talk to him. You don't have to be around him. The weekends, there is something called Monday. So he picks that child up from daycare on Friday. You take him to daycare Friday morning. He picks him up from daycare on Friday. He brings that child back to daycare Monday. You don't have to be around him. You don't have to see him. Whatever y'all's routine and schedule can be, because even like in this situation, when you want to involve the courts, you still have to put some sort of placement in place, even if you're getting child support. And also, if you don't want to be vengeful and spiteful to the person that you've created life with, then you need to get a routine in order. Most of the times, because I have been here, when you want to still have some sort of control, it's because you still want to somehow be connected to that person. And so you cannot use your children as a pawn to keep you seeing this person. You have to be able to move along. If you go to work and your child goes to daycare, that's a great way. If your child goes to school, that's a great way. If your child catches a school bus, that day your child should be a car rider. There are so many other ways around it, but you don't have to be involved and intertwined because it's the children. Because that is, again, going back to one of the tricks that the enemy uses to keep us connected. Like I was reading when I told y'all about Ephesians 6 and 10, to understand like these are just tricks from the devil. So you got to know when to kind of like cut it off and when to say, okay, we do have this kid together and we have gone, but it's okay. If you go back, if you haven't talked to this person for 5, 6 days, 10 days, however long it's been, and if you decide to go back and to speak to them now, what would be different? If he's continuing to go back to the person that he was dealing with before you, that means that it's something that still draws him to that other side. So why make yourself that individual that's convenient? Just because you have a child with that person, you can't make yourself become this convenience factor because you want your heart to feel something temporary. Because all of it is about temporary feelings. You want to feel better, you want to feel loved, you want to feel all of these emotions. But the reality is that those feelings do not always help you to close the door completely if you keep running back to a feeling versus running toward God. So you have to make sure that you make those necessary changes so that you can get to where you need to be when it comes to that. Okay. And we're going to read 2 more so we can go from there. All right. So this one is for someone. Good morning. I saw your video about closing the door, and it's something I've been constantly praying about. Together 11 years and married for 5, and it's something that I wish I never did. I was supposed to move out on such and such date, but my neighbor's house mysteriously caught on fire. So now I'm set to leave Friday, and I'm struggling with the decision to leave, even though it's the right decision. I haven't told him either due to fear. I'm spiraling and hurting. With marriage, I don't tell people to leave their marriages, okay? That's something that God has to tell you to do. But if you are making a decision to step away from something, I want to ask you something. Y'all been together for 11 years and married for 5. I want you to go back to year 6, okay? I want you to think back on year 6 and the top of year 7 before you got engaged and before you got married. Was all of this stuff like this before? Was it always like this? Was the decisions, the way things were, the confrontation, the arguments, the scenarios, was it already like this before you said, I do? Sometimes we are eager, right? We are eager to get married. And when we are eager to have that title as wife, we don't understand that marriage is ministry. And God has to bring the right partner for you to fulfill that ministry and to live out that purpose in that ministry. And when you are dealing with someone and God has not equally developed you together, you're not equally yoked, and you weren't supposed to be together, what ends up happening is when you get married, it's just a continuation of what you were dealing with as a girlfriend or just as, whatever y'all title was as his lady. That's the same thing. And so it's not going to really change. And so for you to step away from something, like I said, I never would tell anybody to leave their marriage, but I do want you to go back to think about year 6. And then I want you to pray and ask God, was this a marriage that you brought together, or did I do this because I was just so eager to have this title? I was so ready to be in this position. I was so ready to, have this role as a wife. Is that the reason why I did this? And did I cause my own demise? And if God tells you yes, then you have to ask him to guide you on your next steps. You have to ask him to put you there. And then you have to be Ruth and Naomi partnering together. You have to have someone there helping you, to coach you, to guide you through your next. And that may be like your first lady, that may be a spiritual mentor, that may just be this page that's ministering you to kind of put you in your next phase. But because you are married, because you have a covenant with someone, I think it's very important that you seek godly counsel. And when I say godly counsel, I'm talking about literally someone that is an ordained minister that counsels individuals through marriage. Your spouse does not have to go with you to marital counseling at your church, but you definitely want to make sure you're making the right decision. And most importantly, listen to God. What is God telling you to do in this time? All right, and for our last one, before I give y'all framework, okay, I'm trying so hard. I'm a week from having my baby, and I need help getting some things for the baby. He hasn't helped me none of the pregnancy, and I'm so tired, but it's hard to walk away because he's the only person that I've been with for the last 3.5 years. So when I first had my son, I was 19 years old when I had him, so I was already young. And me and his dad were both in college in different cities at the time. And it was just, man, that was it was just a difficult time, and I was trying to get myself together. I was trying to get into this transitional housing program because I was staying on campus at University of Louisville, and when you're pregnant you cannot stay in the dorms, and so I had to move, and I ended up having to stay in this like women's shelter where I had to literally get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and get all my stuff. And I had to sit on the school campus. I remember sleeping in like the student union up until my classes started because I needed to stay in that place until I was able to get my place. And I remember my son was born extremely premature. And when he was born, I remember I didn't leave the hospital with a baby. I didn't have clothes, crib, car seat, nothing. You know, it was just like me. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I have now this whole person that I'm responsible for. You know, I don't really have the support that I need. I don't have the help that I need. Um, you know, I'm in Kentucky with just trying to figure things out. You know, like I didn't grow up in Louisville. I'm from Chicago, went to high school in Milwaukee. And so it's just kind of like, was one of those situations where like, where is my support going to come from? That is the time that God can increase your faith the most. And when I say increase it, he will send total strangers to help you. He will send total strangers to support you. One of the things that I highly encourage you to do is get into therapy now, because you did just or you're getting ready to become a new mom. And when you have a baby, you don't want to be going through postpartum depression with your child, and also dealing with the financial struggles as well as the hurt from the relationship, because the hurt from being neglected while you're pregnant, y'all, that literally made me never want to have kids again. And I mean, I had my daughter after, but it put me in a position where I felt like I was almost scarred from that, because pregnancy is a time where we want to be coddled, we want to be taken care of, we want to be loved, we want to feel supported, we want this person to go to the doctor's appointments with us and show up for us. And when that person does not show up for us, you know, it just can cause like just immense pain. I really cannot describe it. It's one of those things of like, if you've lost a parent, you have to experience that to understand how it feels to someone else. And so with pregnancy and with having a baby and having someone there, I mean, not having a person there, it can be extremely hurtful. However, one of the things that when I was going through that, I wasn't like, I have went to church, but I was raised Muslim, so I didn't really understand my word. But there was a guy that was at like the church, the school has a chapel, and so he would always say, call no man on earth your father. You know, you have one father and he's your father in heaven. And when he would always tell me that, I'd be like, what you mean by that? Like, he would say, because your dependency has to come from God. I think that the biggest thing for you, my girl, is that because you're about to have a child, becoming a mom, one of the things that you're going to have to learn is you have to ask God to show you how to raise those kids. And in order to ask God to show you how to raise that baby, you're going to have to know how to talk to God, how to listen to God, and how to trust him. He only needs a little bit from us, and he'll give us guidance. Now, in those situations, he'll send people, he'll send situations, he'll send even responses like this to help us. But your help cannot, even if you're dependent on the person that you have a child with, is, let's just say, God forbid this happened, but that person was no longer here on earth with us, right? Where would your help come from? You will have to depend on your Heavenly Father. So yes, grieve that situation. Yes, push through that situation. But also know this, your child is only going to be the age that they are for that 1 year. They're constantly going to get older. And I'm telling you this from a mother who has experienced that already. You don't want your kids to get older and you look up and they are teenagers and you have missed out on the most intricate years of their life because you are chasing love in a situation that God no longer intended for you. Right now, God is freeing you from that situation before your child even gets to see destruction, before they even get to see toxic behavior. Your child has the opportunity to be raised on love, not survival. And you have the opportunity to give him that and trust that in the appointed time when God says that you are ready, he is going to send you the right person to have a family with, okay? So just remember that. You make sure that you dwell on the love and peace that God is going to give you. So I've given y'all a lot of responses. I have touched on some things, and I kind of touched on closing the door, and I'm going to end this episode with I guess the hardest part of closing the door for me, and what was my final point. I briefly had went over it in a follow up to it of what caused me to close the door. So for those of y'all that missed that video, this is going to be the more formal ending of it. When I was ready to close the door, I was still staggering. I was in and out, 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out of the door, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're always arguing. We're always going back and forth. He's cheating. Now I'm cheating. It just was so much, y'all. It was so much. And in the process of me wanting to close the door, I got nervous. And so this is when I said, okay, God, I'm gonna just put it in your hands. If it's really you that you want me to close the door, show me a sign. And then God did show me the sign and I still didn't listen. So he cheated on me. And at the time he cheated on me, I was maybe like it was like a month and a half before I actually made my first million in my business. It was a y'all, I'm trying to keep it together to explain it to y'all. It was the most hurtful and hardest time in my life because the way that I found out about the infidelity that he did was just not in the way that I expected. It was my birthday weekend, and I was in a meeting, a business meeting, and while I was in this business meeting, he sent me a text and said that he was going to Houston for the weekend. Now, he and I had went to Houston the weekend before because I operate there and we were also just there for just leisure. And so we had just come back and then it was like that I knew that my birthday was coming up that week. So I was like so confused as to why he would be going to Texas on my birthday weekend. And he was like, oh yeah, my coworkers want me to go. Now, mind you, our birthdays were 4 days apart. So, this was the way that he was describing this to me. And so we go to he leaves to go to Texas, and I knew instantly that he was going there with a woman. Like I couldn't even complete the meeting that I was in. I just was there, but I wasn't there because I just knew that that's what he was going there to do. And so he goes to Texas for that weekend. The whole weekend I'm calling him. He's not answering the phone. He's just acting like he's just busy and, he's not seeing my call or this and that. And what was ironic was one of my friends asked me, he's like, hey, I know you upset. Why don't you come to Texas with me to another mutual friend that we had's birthday dinner? So I was like, okay. So I go to this birthday dinner and now I'm in Texas. And he knows that I'm there because he sees it on my Instagram story. But he just says like, what are you doing out here? Like he never like calls me to see where I'm at or anything like that. So that was like double confirmation. All the signs were there. I mean, we just ignored the signs, but I knew that he was there with the woman. We get back, the weekend ends, and he comes back and he's like, how about we talk the next day? Because I just don't want to argue or anything like that. And I'm like, no. So I went to his house and he's just not telling the truth. I could not sleep, anything like that. I get up the next day and I'm like, God, I need solid proof that this was this because I cannot do it. Y'all, my car was parked next to his and I walk outside and he told me that he did not take his car to Texas, okay? He said, I didn't take my car. I rode with my coworkers. Y'all, I looked into his car and right on the floor was the valet ticket from a hotel. And it said Houston, Texas. Then on the seat, there was another ticket from Club Camp because they had went to brunch. And it was the valet from Sunday. So all of the dates and stuff was on it. So talk about being a mad woman, y'all. We have to really get our lives together. Y'all, I literally took off in full speed running. I don't think I ever read full speed before, but I took off in full speed running back into this man's house, like banging on the door. Like, you said you to go to Texas. I'm going off. I'm telling him to come outside so I can show him that I know he's there. Y'all, he came outside. He looked at the thing. Y'all, this man literally looked at me and bust out crying. So now at this point, I'm fighting him. Like I'm physically fighting this man in the parking lot. Okay. Like, why did I want to break out into a fight? I felt hurt. I felt played. I felt all of that. Now, I don't know why, like God really does have a sense of humor because when I'm doing all of this out there, y'all, one of the people like drive past, I guess the parking, cause it's like an apartment complex. And all I hear is, Lord, fight this battle for me. Somebody was playing, like the song was on and their window was down. And y'all, I instantly stopped. In the middle of my madness, God did show up. And I instantly stopped because that song convicted me immediately. That I'm fighting for something and I'm never going to be this man's wife. I'm never going to have this man's last name. We're never going to have the thing that I want us to have. And I'm out there fighting with him in the parking lot. I have a business that I've built. I'm working hard. I now have to keep up the sense of credibility. And I'm fighting in a parking lot. Y'all, fighting in a parking lot in pajamas. I'm talking about no brown, no, just fighting. Why? And though I was upset and I was sad and I was hurt, now I knew the truth. And here's the thing, y'all, he still didn't tell me the full truth. He didn't even tell. I just was asking him answer after answer after answer. He would not tell me the truth. Y'all, he lied down to this woman's name. And then after he lied even about this woman's name, I ended up, the truth always comes out. So God still has a way to humble us, because when people hurt you, and I'm not saying that we looking for no get back to y'all's people, okay? Because y'all still need to take accountability. Because in that season, when I felt instant, like conviction and knew that I needed to step away, God was showing me, you need to take accountability for you. You need to walk away. Like, I'm not going to keep coming and cleaning up the mess that you're keep walking back into. You got to be willing to walk away. So I had to take accountability to walk away. When I walked away from that, and right in the midst of starting, I'm going to tell you why you have to dwell on Ephesians 6:10, because here comes the enemy and his tricks. I made a decision to leave him. And right when I made the decision to leave him, 2 weeks later, he got evicted from his apartment. 2 weeks later, he got evicted from his apartment. So you out of town in Houston at brunch, and you telling me you ain't paid your rent? And for you to be evicted, that means that it was been behind. And so he called me, and y'all know what I did like a fool? I let the enemy use his tricks. I let the devil get in with his clear tricks. I'm thinking like, oh, well, maybe this is a sign to get back together. It wasn't a sign. It was the enemy and his tricks. Like, it wasn't a sign. He didn't pay his rent. He got evicted, but also his focus was never on God in that relationship. I had to fight with him to go to church, and he still wouldn't go. His focus was not on the Lord, and he wasn't prioritizing and paying his bills. He would have quite literally been my own demise in my business that I built. But I went to go help him move all of his things into storage, and I let him move in my apartment. Here's when it got worse. He gets to my apartment, and guess what? His car got repossessed a week and a half after that. So not only is he kicked out of his place, his car gets repossessed. Y'all know that I never knew the whole time the woman that he was dealing with was doing witchcraft. The entire time I never knew this, because he never told me the woman's name. He never disclosed who this person was. So I never had a clear idea of who this individual was, because he lied. I ended up finding out because a client that I had, that I was working with, a client that I was doing some contractor work for, knew this person, and it all kind of came to light. And when it came to light, it blew up like on social media. And so when it blew up on social media, it wasn't a crazy blow up, but it was like embarrassment. My staff found out that she was sending the messages and stuff. And I asked him about it. And he was like, oh, no, I don't know that person. I don't know the person. I'm like, are you sure you don't know this person? Are you sure you don't know this person? I don't know this. I don't know her. And y'all, I literally got up and I said, God, like I'm sitting in the middle of the bed, okay? And this is like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't sleep on when God wake you up out your sleep. I'm seeing the stuff come through my phone. I'm seeing the messages. I'm asking him, does he know this person? He's telling me he doesn't know her. And I sit up in the middle of the bed and I said, God, I have been stupid for so long. Like literally just like this out loud, him sitting there, he looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, God, I have been stupid so long for this person. I keep causing my own hurt, my own pain. Like, I just need to know if this is the final truth. Like, just please tell me if he knows her, if something is happening. I said, please tell me, God, like, I promise you, I'm promising you, God, to you, that if this is the truth, I promise to leave this alone. Like, I promise to leave this alone. I promise to just walk away no matter how hard it is, but I need you to help me. And I'm like in tears, because this, like, my heart was poured into that prayer. Like, I was genuine. Like, tell me, God, if this is what it is. And y'all, like, it wasn't even 5 minutes later, me and him both get a group DM from this girl. The same girl he said, this girl sent a DM and she said his name. And she was like, because you shouldn't have strung me along. I was asking you if you're still in love with her. And this is why you haven't called me. I knew that she was saying stuff that, like, only if you was dealing with her, she could know. And I ended up finding out, of course, he knew her. And that, you would think that would stop the situation, y'all. And I'm just crying. I'm back and forth. I'm telling him he has to leave. He didn't. He was actually in a wedding with the girl. The girl that was doing all of this was his best friend's sister-in-law. They were getting ready to get married. So the whole time, the reason why I couldn't go to the wedding and why I wasn't invited to the wedding is because he was in the wedding with her. So it was just so many layers to unravel. And that's when God was like, are you ready now? Are you going to close it now? And after that, it was difficult. But I'm going to tell y'all what liberty came when I closed that door. I had gained so much weight in that relationship, y'all. Like, I still have weight to lose, but I gained so much weight in that relationship because I picked up emotional eating. I had lost my parents when I was in that relationship, and I just could not. I lost myself. I let go of myself, and I just started to just take every piece of energy, how I was able to genuinely close that door. Is every time I thought about giving him energy, I gave it to myself. So I started working out at the gym and just went to Planet Fitness. I was just getting on the Stairmaster. Like, I didn't know what to do. I just got on the Stairmaster. Then I started getting dressed every day. Like, what can I do to make myself better? So I just started getting dressed every day. Then after getting dressed every day, now I'm working out, getting myself dressed. Then I started to keep my hair done, just keeping myself up. But what the most important thing was, I wrote my thoughts down and I read my Bible. I didn't understand it, so I got a children's Bible because I was like, I never really read the Bible to understand it. And once I did that, little by little, the door was closed. After that, after all of those things happened, after I experienced those incidents, and God got me emotionally regulated, here's where the beauty comes in at closing the door. I lost weight. I got a tummy tuck. My appearance elevated. I had great creative thinking in my business. God started showing me the things that I needed to do to start my ministry, and I became a multimillionaire. And I couldn't have got any of those things if I stayed with him. But that person did not deserve this person. And you got to know when people don't deserve you. And you got to know when people don't deserve to go with you in seasons. You got to know when people don't deserve to experience that season with you. And I couldn't get to that until I understood that that season was not for them to be in. And I know it's very, very difficult to stop something. And I know it's very, very difficult to close the door on something because it feels like if you shut it, your whole world is going to shatter. But if you shut it, something so much better is going to come. Because once I was able to get over that, now I'm able to open up my heart to genuine love. I didn't know what it was like to be loved by a person because every time I tried to let go, this person would use the tricks and tactics, or I would think about, oh, well, he's going to be sleeping with somebody else, or he's going to buy somebody else this, or somebody else is going to get this experience, this sexual experience, but the enemy was trying to keep me bound by lust, or somebody else is going to get to experience him buying in purses, but the enemy was trying to convince me to be bound by things. God gave me so much more. Or somebody else is going to get a chance to experience, the family dynamic that we put together. But guess what? It never really was that because you don't hurt family. And so I did not get a chance to give myself what I truly deserved in that season when I stayed. And God held up everything that he had for me until I decided to close the door, because there are so many other beautiful things that are behind the other side of that door. When you close it, you get to see a room, something opened, and you get a chance to create what you deserve. And you get a chance to let God come in and show you how you need to be. There are so many of y'all with so many more messages who are struggling with this. And your calling, it may not look like mine. You may not get a chance to get the same things that I get. You may not be able to receive the same things that I receive. But when you close the door, there is so much more that's in store for you. Money is not always the blessing. I have so much peace of mind. I have so much freedom. I don't wake up frustrated. I don't go to bed filled with anxiety. I'm not looking over my shoulder wondering if this the reason why this girl looking at me is because she's messing with him. I'm not worried about going through no man's phone. I'm not looking and checking to go through no comment section to see and going to somebody's page to see how she look and comparing myself to her. It's liberty in that. It's so much more peace of mind in that, and it's so much more freedom in that, and you have to bask in that. So today, I want you to promise me that if you know that God did not ordain a situation, and if you know that God is telling you it is time to let go, I want you to promise me that you're going to close the door. Don't just do it for me, do it for yourself.